Have you ever picked up a vegetable plant in a shop and thought, I could do this, stick it in a pot and grow some tomatoes? But then your mate, or worse, your gran, will tell you, nah, just grow it from seed. Save the £2.50. It's so rewarding. Well, I've done both, and I'm still doing both. And I'm going to tell you which one is the best choice. Let's talk about the store-bought vegetable plants first. Because if buying one plant from a shop will promote you to grow that one plant in your back garden, then that's a good thing. And for you people who already are growing, well, it might just open up an interesting discussion because we all know plot holders love a good plant chat. Now that my last raised bed is ready with all of its amendments and horse manure, let's see the difference in my first batch of home-sown plants versus purchased plants. Actually, that's probably where we should start. Pros for buying plants means you don't have to have seed soils, starter trays, mini tools. You just buy the plant, stick it in a pot or in the ground, give it sun and water, and you're gardening. But a con for buying would be you miss the rewarding aspect of sowing, nurturing your little seed into a plant. The biggest pro for buying plants is the speed and convenience of time for last-minute planting. I sowed these Roma tomato seeds 7 weeks ago when I first got this plot. If I hadn't have sown any tomato seeds, I could have just bought plants without worrying. The two plants I have bought look way bigger and healthier, which is a big pro for buying plants. You can choose exactly the plant that you want. But that doesn't mean that my homegrown, little, tiny, ill-looking plants in comparison won't look just as healthy later. Pro for purchasing plants, you skip the germination stage and the nurturing, and overall that means it takes less effort. That is the convenience of buying a store-bought plant. These plants already got a head start, which means they're quicker to harvest and less waiting around for growth. And they're perfect for beginners or for a short growing season, or if you're just planting last minute like I've done with these lettuce. That in itself is another pro and con, the control of quantity. You may only want 2 lettuce plants, so it would be easier for you to sow them rather than buying a tray of 10. Buying a seed packet will give you way more seeds than you need, but it will allow you to grow over many years. Let's use this pumpkin as an example. I wasn't planning on growing pumpkins, but me buying a plant from a shop, impulse buy, and trying to grow it has made me want to grow them again. So this year, I'm going to buy seeds and sow them myself. Downside to buying plants is they could be root bound before you even get them home, and they could suffer transplant shock, but you could argue transplant shock for many plants. Buying these green beans is a nice way for me to try a variety I haven't eaten before, rather than buying a packet of 60 seeds. Cost of growing veg is a factor that needs to be mentioned. So I'm going to compare the brassica bed, all store-bought plants, to my radish and courgette bed, which are all grown from seed. My radish seed packets for this bed cost me £5 for 2 varieties, average of 600 seeds. In the same bed, I planted 8 courgette plants, 3 varieties, all home sown from seed, £8. I spent £13 just on this bed, but I do have enough seeds for next year, so that's actually £7.50. But if I had bought the courgette plants in pots, it would have cost me £24. The brassica bed, I bought 4 trays of plants in a multi-buy offer. That's given me 24 plants of 3 varieties, costing me £14. But if I'd bought the seeds, it would have only spent £9. So plants or seeds, one is going to cost you more money, but the other is going to cost you more time. Which option would you choose and why? Please comment below. I really want to know your choice. Major pro for sowing from seed. Shops aren't going to have every vegetable or variety on sale. So if you want your Polish grandmother's pickled gherkins, then you're going to have to grow them from seed. Seed choices are endless. Black tomatoes, purple peas, white strawberries. Seed shopping is the adult version of pick and mix section at the cinema. I've saved the best bed till last. I built this raised bed with the upright frame last week in preparation for the most important vegetables for me, my tomatoes and my cucumbers. I hope you've been convinced to buy a vegetable plant or a packet of seeds, because homegrown is tastier whether it's a purchased plant or sowed seeds. Now, taking into consideration all the pros and cons of sowing and buying, I have a combination of purchased tomatoes and cucumbers as well as sown tomatoes and cucumbers for this particular bed. Now to decide. Store-bought plants give you speed and convenience. Seeds give you savings and variety. I'll tell you my choice later in the series when we compare harvest size on the sown and purchased plants. See you next week. Thanks for watching.